What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Cover Band Central podcast, number 197 for Tuesday, April 11th, 2023. I'm Steve Witchell in New Orleans.
And I'm Tony B, coming to you from New Jersey. What's happening?
Yes. What's happening indeed. A lot of stuff.
We are here.
We're here. We had took a week off last week, which we'll be doing once in a while. This is supposed to be every week, but, sometimes we skip a week. Just because there's not much.
Need a vacation sometimes.
Sometimes there's nothing to talk about. But
there's always something to talk about.
There is. That's true. There is always something to talk about. And if you would like to talk about stuff, let us know. If you're watching us live, we are broadcasting live on the Cover Band Central Facebook page, in the Cover Band Central Facebook group, and on the Cover Band Central YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the channel. The link is in the description. Click that link, hit subscribe, hit the bell. So you know when we go live. I should have that bell ready. But if you're watching right now live, come on in and say hello. Tell us where you're from, and we will say hello back, and we will discuss anything that you want. And if you want to chime in on today's topic, that would be fantastic. We will get to that in a bit. Vonda's here. She's in Michigan. What's happening?
What's up?
Vonda. I like that name with a V. Vonda.
Vonda from Michigan.
Yes. I very much like Vonda. Anybody else come on in and say hello? How's it going?
It's going great. How else would it be going? It's going excellent, Steve. Outstandingly excellent.
I love it.
Yes, indeed.
It's going well for me too.
How
it's
about
going.
Yourself there, yeah.
Kelly is in Kentucky. She says a loud hey.
Kentucky Kelly, hey.
Yeah. We are worldwide for Cover Band Central. We're at 659,000 followers on the Cover Band Central Facebook page. If you're not a part of it, please check that out. Ann's in Port Colborne. I don't know where that is. Southwest England is Bonnie. Cool avatar.
Yeah, Bonnie.
I like that. Brianna's in Ohio. Only women so far again.
It's always the first 2 minutes, Steve.
Here's a dude, Harold, in Fairfax, Virginia. He says, love your stuff. Thanks, Harold. Appreciate you.
In.
Fast Jimmy's here. What's up, dudes?
Come on in. Water's fine.
Mark Lara's here, too. Cool. We always appreciate you guys watching us live or listening on the audio podcast, which we're on Pantheon now, on the Megaphone platform. There's a link in the description for that.
Megaphone.
There's a link for the description for that, too. Let me try that again. There's a link in the description for the audio podcast.
Megaphone.
See, you can't do that. You're throwing me off, dude. Even crickets. The link's in the description. Click that link and check out our previous podcast and subscribe there too if you're an audio podcast listener. We do this on video and audio, both.
Indeed. And if you're not an audio podcast listener, you might not know you're one until you try it. So come on in.
Mark's in Central Illinois. Mostly United States right now. I like your happy face, your little laughs, Bonnie. I covered business. Okay, so
what's new and exciting in the world of music, Steve? Your
just
gig endeavors, maybe.
It's kind of status quo. I'm still playing my 2 gigs on the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I play from 2 to 6:15, and then from 7 to 1:30 on Friday and Saturday, and then we end a little earlier on Sundays. And this past weekend, I did both. The prior weekend, I only did the day gig. But now it looks like it's going to be doubles every weekend going forward for an undetermined amount of time. But for the near future.
Ride the wave while you can, brother.
Doubles, yes.
Enjoy.
Yeah, and it's I mean, we talked about this a few weeks ago, but it's become much more routine for me. And some people that I just encounter now out there, and they learn for the first time that's what I'm doing. They're like, I don't know how you do that. Are you crazy? I pretty much get that reaction from everybody.
Because they haven't tried it. That's why.
Maybe. But yeah. I mean, I would probably say the same thing to somebody else before I did this too. Be like, oh, wow, that's a lot. What?
But
How
like
do
we talked about, dude, if you were a touring musician, right, with a national act, international act, whatever, you would be playing, 250 shows a year or more potentially.
wow,
So
that's a
so
lot. No, that's
hey,
I
even 200 shows a year. I'm saying you have a day off here and there, but for the most part, you're playing every day. It's not doubles, but you're playing every day, every other day. A couple of days off to travel, depending where you're going. But you're usually in blocks of 3 or 4, or 5, depending. So it's a lot.
yeah, I mean that's a completely different animal though. Touring bands, you're up there and you're doing a couple hours maybe if you're a headliner, which is, you're doing like maybe between 15 and 20 songs a night, which is, sure, that's a job, but it doesn't even compare to
It's
what I'm
like doing
doing.
187 songs a night
Well, not that many a night, but yeah.
in a day in a 24
Well,
hour period.
yeah, we talked about it a few weeks ago. We determined that it's about 320 a
Mm,
weekend, so a
yeah.
little over 100 a day, 100 songs. So that's a lot. I mean, if you were to go see a band, like, hey, yeah, man, I got tickets to Kansas. They're doing 100 songs.
They're doing a marathon gig from 2 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Right.
with an intermission at 6 and a
I mean,
couple of breaks between.
no matter how much you love a band, no matter how good that band is, if they did 100 songs, you would get bored
Yeah.
eventually. You would be like, oh man, aren't these guys gonna? Are they gonna take a
That's
break?
the
What
beauty of the whole cover band experience, right? It's
are,
because
are
the
they
variety.
repeat? Wait, are they doing that song again? They just did that
Yeah.
like a couple hours
Right.
ago.
Yeah, exactly.
How many times are they gonna do "Carry On Wayward Son"? I mean,
Yeah. Well, at least once a set, if the crowd keeps turning over.
right? Exactly.
That would be the ticket.
Can you
It's like a
imagine?
rotating tickets. Like you get to buy a ticket, but you can only stay for a maximum of 3 hours. Then you have to vacate and let the next person take your seat. So it's like a rotating crowd, just
We're,
on a
we're,
larger scale, kind of like what you do, but just on a grander scheme.
right, right. Yeah, we went to see the Grateful Dead, man. They did 100 songs. It
Mm,
took a week.
yeah. You might see an hour jam, but I don't know about that.
Right.
So
Um,
yeah, it is impressive what you do when you look at it from that perspective of the amount of stamina required and the amount of songs and the amount of tolerance to keep playing those songs to the best of your ability every time you do them. You know?
yeah, it is, but it's just like anything else, and you talk about it a lot. But it's just conditioning. It's habit forming. You just form this habit of this thing, and you condition your brain. You create new pathways, neural pathways in your brain that allow you to do it. And again, I mean, I say the same thing every time. There's parts of it where I'm very fatigued and or I'm tired and I'm just like, oh, when is this going to end? I like the Rockbox gig, the night gig. There's a clock, a digital clock facing us. The audience can't see. It's up top and it's facing all of us, and it's right in front of my face. So I'm always like,
And
what?
what's it telling you? The countdown of how much longer you have to play for?
No, it's just a clock, like the time of
Okay.
yeah.
So you're just watching the minutes go by and
Yeah,
counting
sometimes I'm
down how
like,
much left?
like, hasn't it been 8:47 for like 5 minutes? Like, what is going on here? Sometimes it feels that way. Um, but but
Hey,
then
but like you said, but you could be in a factory, punching widgets for all that time.
right. But
So,
the most challenging part of this, Tony, all of this whole thing of that, especially playing with Rockbox, the night gig,
mhm.
is having to pee and not being able to go pee. That's the hardest part of it.
Have you guys tried wearing diapers or making like a pee bottle, apparatus that you could somehow discreetly strap to your
No.
leg?
It seems like I'm the only one that has to pee frequently, but it doesn't. Actually, it hasn't been happening often lately, and I have the added benefit in Rockbox of Sonny, one of the other singers, also can play bass. So in an emergency, I gotta
Dude,
go.
I have the
then
solution.
he can
That's
play.
a great idea, but this is what you do. This is with Cornerstone during the daytime, right?
Cornerstone is easy. No,
Oh,
Cornerstone,
Rockbox?
it's not a
Okay, so
problem.
for
Rockbox,
Rockbox now, you rebrand the band as the Scottish Box. You all wear kilts. Then you can strap like a big Gatorade bottle right to your leg under the kilt. Problem solved. No one sees it. It's easy to conceal, and you guys have a new gimmick. It kind of frees you up.
yeah, I don't know if anybody's done that. I'll pitch it to those guys, see what they
Definitely
say.
mention it to them. Definitely pitch that idea.
I'll try to pitch it.
I know I'm
I'll
onto something. I just don't know if you guys are sophisticated enough to embrace it, but we'll see.
I don't know, but I will give you 100% credit for the idea.
Okay,
So
that's
it
cool.
didn't come from me at all.
We can get the feedback next week when we talk, or the
Right.
week after, depending on if nap time
And
is
and
required.
and like Wendy correctly points out here, that won't work for women.
No, of course not.
So your idea is thrown in question already.
Well, we were only referring to your particular environment and need for a solution. This wasn't supposed to be some broadband, wide scope thing. This was like, a specialized consulting recommendation from myself
I
to you
don't think
based
I
on
don't.
your needs only.
Yeah, I don't think it would be work. I
So
would get.
you can stop right there. You can just run it by your band and let me know next week, and then I'll
Now,
let you
see,
know my
I
thoughts.
would, I would get pee shy, and I wouldn't be able to do it anyway. Like I'm on stage in front of everybody, and even though they can't see it, I gotta pee in a
Yeah, you
bottle
just like
under my kilt.
let it flow.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, well,
Anyway, okay, let's move on from
take it into consideration.
pee bottles, but that's a good point, though, right? When
Well,
you're
like Mark said, just screw it and whip out and pee on stage,
that too.
which I have considered. I've considered turning around into a bottle. I've been that bad before, where I've considered just turning around my back to the audience and pissing in a bottle.
Dude, I have so many ideas. You could have a hollow body base with a back cut out of it, with like a reservoir in it, and you could just like move it over a little bit and pretend like you're jamming and just pee right into the back of that. Then when you're done, just give it a little shake and come back to the normal playing position, and it would hold it inside the base. Then at break time, you could just take it and dump it out like a bedpan.
You're just full of ideas
Yeah,
tonight.
I mean, listen, you bring up the topic. I got a lot to expand,
Yeah.
expand upon that.
But fortunately,
Anyway,
I have Sonny. I have Sonny in both bands, and he can play bass. So if I really need to go, but Sunday he was not. Sonny was not there. We had a different singer who does not play bass, and there was a good hour plus where I really had to pee, and I couldn't. I just had to endure it.
Do you
And
ever call Sunny Sunday? Do you ever say Sunday?
no, I call him Sunshine though sometimes.
Sunshine. Okay.
Yeah. See, there you go, Jackie. Now she's using it on the next Shark Tank. You'll put.
Yeah, you got it, man. Check this out.
uh, Mike Schultz is here. He said he's excited to listen to this whole episode to find out how you made it into this discussion.
Yeah, Mike, got to get here early for the good stuff, man.
Yeah.
By the time you usually get here, we're talking music.
Mike knows the deal.
These are
He's
the
got a
gems.
podcast.
These are the gems.
Mike does the Confused Breakfast podcast, which is about movies, and they discuss movies, and he's very good. So, but the other challenge, yeah, Sunday. That was one challenge Sunday night, and then the other was Saturday night. It was a little slower this weekend, Easter weekend. Not as many people in town. Still people, but not crazy packed. And
What about daytime Easter Sunday? People in the clubs?
Yeah, because there was a big parade
Okay.
in town that I didn't know about, which is always very frustrating and challenging because I have to drive into the French Quarter in New Orleans every day. I don't live there. I have to drive into it. And then I have to find parking, which is challenging too. But when there's a parade, streets are blocked off. You can't go, and they're all one-way streets in the French Quarter, so you have to, go a mile just to go a half a block sometimes. And then I got caught in this traffic. And I didn't know this. There was a parade right down Bourbon Street. So anyway, when we started, there were people. The parade had just ended. People were sort of dispersing, so people came in. It still was pretty slow, though, for the most part. I think mostly it was families, and they just went home afterwards. But Saturday night, the other challenge, I was so tired, and it was like we start for Rock Box Night Band, we start at 7 o'clock and we end at 1:30. We break at 10, so we go 7 to 10, 3 hours. And it was like 8:30, and I'm looking at the clock, and I'm just like, I was so tired. I just got hit with a wave of, oh, I'm tired, because not a lot of people in the club, and there's not much to, just keep your attention. And I'm just playing the same song. So we're playing Hotel California.
So do you jump around like Angus Young from AC/DC? Like
No,
just keep yourself pumping, even though it's Hotel
no,
California, or you just kind of stand there like, it's a
I, yeah,
California.
yeah. In fact, I decided I was challenged myself. I was like, I wonder if I can take a little nap and still play the song.
And sing the background.
Because the expression, people say, "Yeah, I could play that in my sleep." I was
Yeah,
like, let me
prove
test
it.
this. Let me
Prove
let
it.
me see if I could actually kind of get into a sleep, at least that halfway where you're half awake, half asleep zone, and still keep playing.
See,
So I,
Steve, another invention right out of the back of your pants, two rods that you could just clip out like a seat and you could just sit back on them and then nap, and this way you wouldn't lose your balance.
yeah, that was the concern, was the balance losing.
Mm.
But I tried it anyway. I closed my eyes and I'm just like, I'm playing the song. I don't have to look at my neck. My fingers know what to do. And, I kind of almost got there for like a minute and a half, maybe. I was in a nice kind of restful space with my eyes closed. And I'm like, and I kept checking in on myself. Am I still playing the song? Yeah. Okay. Am I still playing it right? Yeah.
And then you woke up laying on the drum set and the guy was like, dude, what are you doing? Get off me. And you're like, oh, sorry, huh? And everyone was looking at you and you were like standing and you realized what was going on?
um,
No?
no.
Mm.
And then the other incident this weekend was Friday.
So wait, you came out of your trance-like state and then you were renewed and rejuvenated, or you were waiting
A
for the next
little, a
song
little, yeah. It was
to nap
just,
again?
a wave of fatigue that hit me, that kind of passed through me, and then eventually I was, all right, I'm okay, I'm back
Okay.
here. And then because it's that first 3 hours on Saturday, after I just got done playing all day, and I had played all day and night the day before. Saturday, going from 7 to 10, that first, it's 4 sets, so that first quad,
And no coffee at dinner break time?
I don't drink coffee.
Oh
I don't
boy.
do caffeine. That's the most challenging one, that bit, because once we hit break at 10 o'clock, then we come back from break, then it's like you're on the tail end there, and
Home stretch,
psychologic
baby.
home stretch, and
Psychologically,
psychologically
yeah.
it's much better. It's like, okay,
Uh-huh.
and I also get several breaks during that 3 hours, where a couple other people play bass, or somebody's just playing solo on stage, and we get off stage. So that the end of it is much easier than the first
Mm,
part.
okay.
But I got to do something about the having to urinate, when Sonny's not there. I got to
Yeah.
figure it out. I have to just drink less, I guess. Drink something.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Just try to pee before you go on and then hit it right at the break.
I always do.
You
Always
know?
pee before I go on stage.
Mm.
And then the
Well,
other
you
chat,
know my thoughts on that, so I've already given my input. We won't repeat that again.
right? But the other challenge this weekend was gear related, and if you'll remember, I had a challenge probably about a month ago where my bass cut out on stage, and thought it was the bass, I thought it was the pedal, whatever, and it turned out to be a bad cable.
Yes.
Um,
Prime
Eileen,
suspect, usually.
Eileen said there's a pill for that. I got to look into that. Again, well, it didn't happen that way, but Friday we were playing not even maybe a half hour, and my bass just started cutting out, but it would cut back in, but it was kind of and cutting out. So I'm thinking again, cable, and like I'm playing a song, it's mid song, and then the bass all of a sudden isn't there. So I'm frantically, while the band is still playing the song, frantically trying to figure out what the problem is, changing this cable, bypassing the pedal, going straight into the amp. Nothing was working, and they had the keyboard player just play a song by himself, so I could try to figure it out. And then I got it back working, and then okay, start the next song, and then it's working for a second, and then same thing happened. And
What'd you
like,
do to get it working?
I don't know. I just I was just switching cable. I think it was a different cable probably that I was using,
Okay.
or the pedal. Yeah, actually that was it. I shook the cable by the input of the pedal, and I like kind of shook it a little bit, and then it was working. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's this. It's just a loose something here. This cable's bad. And then, but then it cut out again, and then
Battery.
I had changed actually before we started when I was just kind of warming up. Uh, I heard that sort of crackle, and I was like, "Oh, I might have to change the battery." I haven't changed it in a bit, and those batteries actually last in active guitars and active basses. Those batteries last a
Was
long
it an
time.
Energizer or was it a Duracell?
I don't recall. It was
Okay.
one of the two though,
All right. You got to be dependable, man. Energizers.
and so I changed it out. I put a brand new battery in, so I knew it wasn't that, and I went and got another bass. So we stopped, or like I gave my bass to Sonny, and he was playing, and it was working. And then I went and got my other bass, and I came back, and it was working, and then it cut out on him. So I plugged in my other bass, same problem. Okay, it's not the bass. So we determined that it's the amp. It had to be the amp. That was the only thing left that we didn't check, or that wasn't changed out.
Hmm.
So we ended up setting it up so I was going direct through the PA and would put me through the monitors, and it was fine. For me on stage, it was fine. I could hear myself well. There just wasn't as much of a bottom,
Sure.
for the bass, but and they said it sounded fine out front, so that was my challenge. So I ended up having to bring in a different rig entirely for Saturday, but that
Mm.
worked great, and now it actually sounds better now with this rig that I'm using. So blessing.
There you go. See, force fed. You didn't want to do it on your own, so that's it. We'll
Hmm.
make you change amps, which you did for the better.
Yeah. So I'm gonna. It's. I don't think it's dirty pots. I mean, it's possible. Mark said dirty pots. I don't know enough about opening up. It's a solid state amp. It's a you know speaker with the amp in one shell. So I haven't looked at it yet. I'll look at it and see if I can figure out something that might be simple. Um,
It might be related to getting urinated on. Might be a problem with it. Might have
I
taken
didn't.
on some urine.
I don't do that on my amp.
Mm.
Crazy,
Maybe not
crazy.
intentionally.
It might just be dirty pots. He might be right. I
Could
might
be.
just have to clean the pots. I don't know. But anyway, but made it through, and then the rest of the night was fine that night, and then
See,
the rest of
Plan B.
the
Plan
rest of the
B at
weekend.
the ready.
Yeah, the rest of the weekend was good with that setup. So, but yeah, just I what I like about this dude is, I mean, I'm playing more than I've ever played in my life in a short period of time, and I think it's really, I feel myself improving. I can see it, like the improvements I'm making are happening, faster because I'm playing so much, so I can really see it.
So think about it from that perspective. From Friday, Saturday, Sunday, how many total hours are you playing?
Um, actual playing
Yeah,
time.
like you're on stage performing, playing. Yep. Not breaks, not anything, but over the course of the day and the night.
So three, almost 4 hours and eight, two, 5, 6, about in the ballpark of 10 hours, probably a little more.
Each day.
Friday and Saturday, and Sunday is generally right now anyway a little bit less, so probably about 8 hours,
So it's 28 hours for the weekend.
something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so let's round it down to say it was 25, right? So
Hmm.
that's 100 hours a month that you're practicing and muscle memory on your instrument, right? So think about it from that perspective. It's 100 hours a month. It's 1,200 hours a year if you do it for a consistent amount of time like that. So that's a tremendous opportunity just to increase your overall skill and your ability just from a muscle memory and a physicality element of it, because that's how you train. If you wanted to learn something new, you'd have to keep practicing it, for a certain amount of hours until it became natural for you to do it. So as you're playing these songs, you're subconsciously training yourself, but look at it from that perspective too. Like When would you ever have 100 hours a month to put in, re- to practicing and rehearsing your craft?
Yeah, I no, you wouldn't. I mean,
Right.
and that's what it is
I
too.
mean, you could, but that's a tremendous amount of dedication, right? For someone to say, "I'm going to put in 25 hours a week at something," you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's tremendous. That would be very difficult to do on your own.
Mm.
But it is practicing too. It's always practicing, and it feels great. It's I've been playing with a pick a lot, and that's not something I did for most of my career as a bass player. I've always played with my fingers. I played with a pick here and there for tone, certain songs like,
Did you have
but
to adapt out of necessity?
I adapted it kind of because when I started playing with Rockbox in October, the guitar player wanted me to play with a pick on certain songs that he felt like it sounds much better. That's the way the original artist does it. And I was a little resistant to it. Like I took a like, hey, I could play with my fingers just fine, you know. But I embraced it and then just started playing with a pick on most songs just to get myself really into being like a pick bass player because it's just never been my thing. Always a finger bass player. And it's cool. I'm really enjoying it. It makes me play a little differently. And I think it's making me better in a way too. And it's certainly better for performing purposes. It's just cooler. We're playing rock songs, like 80s rock songs, and it's cooler to kind of just be like playing with a pick, like you're playing a guitar, and then you point into the crowd. And we've had some great crowds where it's packed. It's been spring
And
break,
you flicking the pick out to the
flicking the
audience,
pick,
like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and they love it. I mean, these people that come and see us, we're playing the role of rock star, and people eat it up. They love it. They look at us that way. So, which is going to be a great lead into our topic. Hi, Steve and Tony. I don't know who that is, but Facebook user says that.
What's up, Facebook user?
So I've really adapted this and thought about it a lot recently, and because of really another person who I'm working with about the topic today, which is play for the gig you want, and that just means, like I said in the description, there's the old adage, don't dress for the job you have, dress for the job you want, which you can take literally, meaning like if you're in the regular workforce, dress nice, dress to impress. If you want to be a CEO, dress like a CEO, or whatever it is. Do that now, regardless of where you are. But it's also a good metaphor for anything in life. If you want to achieve something, act as if it's true now. Do those things that you would do if you had that thing or you were that thing or you had that job. And I like applying that to being a musician. It's a lot of visualization. I think we all kind of do it as musicians by default, like without even trying. I think probably as kids we did, especially when we were, when you first sat behind a drum kit or when I first picked up a bass, I was pretending to be like my heroes. And I'm sure you had a similar.
Yeah, I mean, when you play along to your favorite records, when you're younger, you're idolizing your heroes, right? And you're trying to emulate them and you're inspired by them. That fuels you to visualize that whole experience of their superstardom, and you see yourself playing along with that Exit Stage Left Rush album, and the crowd is there, and it's like, if you have really good stereo or your headphones and you're playing along with it, it's like you're in that moment. And then, yeah, you visualize that, and that helps, I think, to it definitely triggers that manifestation of other like things, to attract to you from that. So by having that type of mindset, you're putting yourself in a better headspace, right, to attract that, or to put you on, the right path forward to attain whatever your dream is that you're visualizing, that to be. And then you look back and you say, 30, 40 years later of doing this, where it's taken you, and had you not pursued that initial dream and had the passion to emulate your heroes, right, and become inspired, that you wouldn't be doing it still today, and we wouldn't be nearly as proficient, if we weren't serious about it. So it's not just dress, like you said, for the job you want, but be prepared for the opportunity that you may get from the current situation you're in, by bringing your best every time to every gig, and not settling and not being satisfied with how good you were at the last gig, but bringing your best. And after a while, someone's going to notice that. And, you got to be ready for that next step, to be prepared for that, if that's what you're looking for and that's what you're pursuing. So behind the scenes, you got to be doing the same, if you're not playing 100 hours a week, right, which is the opportunity that you have. But if you're on a regular level of playing, a couple of times a month, it's your duty to have your chops up and to be on your downtime, constantly getting better and learning different things and learning new, genres of music that are exposing you to other creative elements to make you a better player.
Sure, it'll all do that. And I kind of feel like, yeah, you have to take the actions, but this is more of a psychological approach to anything. And we were just talking about visualization, and I mean, it has to be something that you want. Some people are in situations where they're content. That's it. They got what they wanted. Some people play the corner pub at once in a while, and that's it, and that's all they ever wanted, and that's fine, and that's fine for them. They want other things in life besides that, and that's cool. But if you're playing and you're striving to get better and you're looking for opportunities, and you have this drive in you, then it behooves you to, no matter where you are, picture that you're already in that place, in that on that huge stage, playing with that famous person, playing these type of songs, playing to these types of crowds, playing in this area, or touring, or whatever it is you want. Do that now in your head when you preparing and you're going to work and you're getting on stage, and close your eyes and picture that crowd of 5,000 people, even if there's 5 people in the room. Play as if that room is packed with 5,000 people, as if you're a well-known artist in your field, whatever it is you do. If that's something you want, do it now. Dress that way too. Literally dress like a rock star. If you want to be a rock star, dress like a rock star. Act like, talk like, say, like it's now, not sometime in the future. It's now. And I learned this early, dude. I learned this without knowing that I learned it. As a kid, even before I ever played a gig, I had, I had my bass. I had like a small amp in my bedroom, and I would practice, and I would play along with records, like LPs. There was no rewinding. There was no YouTube tutorial. I put the record player on, I put my bass on, and I'm playing along, and I'm trying to learn it as I'm playing along. But I would stand up. I would put my foot on the bed like it's a monitor. I would, seriously, I would
Yeah,
point.
no, I know.
I was facing the windows, in my bedroom, the windows outside, and I would look outside and I would just picture the crowd. I mean, I've literally did that, and at the time I probably thought it was silly, or maybe other people thought it was silly, but I didn't care. I loved it. It gave me chills to do that. And then, not too many years later, I was in that situation where I was on stage playing to packed rooms, and when I got there, doing that, I felt like I've already been here 100 times. I've already done this. And people get to a certain level, and they maybe get intimidated or scared, or nervous. But if you've already run it through in your head, then you don't.
Well,
Then you
that's the
don't.
confidence level, right? Like I was saying, with the muscle memory and being prepared, right? It's like you have the confidence to do it. But to your point, I can remember like the first band I was ever in, we bought lights. We had a PA and we bought lights. So the rehearsal space, we had the lights, and as you played, they changed colors. So you just put it on auto, and then you would play. But it made it so you were like on stage. It wasn't like you were in, my parents' downstairs family room that we cleared all the furniture out of and made into, a rehearsal studio.
Right, right.
You know what I
I
mean?
love those houses, man.
Yeah,
Those are always great times going to,
it was
gotta go to rehearsal.
bi-level. So you'd walk in and you're in the foyer, and to the right is band, as
Right,
far as
right.
I could see, and then upstairs to the normal part of the house. But it was like we took that over. My parents were really cool about it. My mom tolerated a lot, rehearsed until 11 or 12 o'clock, on a weeknight when she had to work the next morning. But for sure, by changing that element, turn off the fluorescent lights and have these, stage lights, with some other lighting, and it was just cool. It created a vibe, and you were performing, you weren't rehearsing.
Right, right. You're performing. You're acting like we did it in
Yeah.
my. I played in this band called Cheater. That was one of my first bands when I was a kid, and we did that same thing. Drummer's house,
Yep.
bi-level. We went in through the garage, and it was like the downstairs of the house, really.
Uh huh.
And they had it as like a family room with a couch and a TV. And we would, move the couch
Mm-hmm.
and set up and face one way as if we're on stage. I did that with little sister too. We had a big mirror in front of us too, which was killer. So we're like, we're like a dancer would
Yeah, you could see what you're doing and how
see
you
what you're
look and your
doing.
moves, and like all stiff. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Good.
choreograph it and look at ourselves in the mirror with our choreographing and stuff. But we acted as if we
But
were
that
a
that
big deal.
visualization, that practicing and going through the motions, when you really do get on stage, then it's not like your first time and you're all, like deer in the headlights because you've been doing it at home,
You've
right?
been
So it's like you're ready. Wait till I got the moves down, I got my look, I know my parts. We have the stage that's looking a certain way. It's less nerve wracking than it would be if you just coming in cold. Like
right,
practice, 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 but never played out. It might take you 10 gigs until you look comfortable. The other
right,
way, it might take you three.
right. Yeah, yeah, and but the psychological, the mental exercise of it is so important. You know, and getting into that. So when you're playing, yeah, you're way ahead of where you want to be. It's a little weird for me now to apply it because I'm playing so much, and I'm not really striving to do much more in my career as far as a player is concerned. Although I do still picture like, and I'll do this while I'm playing. I still picture like, wow, I wonder what this would feel like if I was in an arena right now playing to 20,000 people.
Hmm.
How would that feel? So I do kind of get into that. I don't have an overwhelming desire, burning desire to do that. I used to. I still would like to, but I don't have like it's not I don't have fire in me about it because I'm still playing in packed rooms, people cheering. It's great. I'm having a good time. But it's a, but the, I'm sorry, you gonna say something?
I was saying that's what it's all about: having a good time and enjoying, your situation that you're in, and playing. Whether it's like you said, to two people, to no people, in your house by yourself with your band rehearsal. You're still making music, right? So enjoy it, be happy and joyful while you're doing it. And visualize those sort of things. Like you said, if you're in a band starting out and you guys are just starting to play together, like you said, you visualize getting those gigs and being in the club. And if you're already in that situation, like you said, whatever your particular environment or your goals are, right? That's what you think about. And it's going to be different for everybody. But I think the common thing should always be that you're bringing your best to that present moment at whatever gig or whatever musical situation you're in,
Sure, of
you know?
course. Yeah. Always definitely want to bring your best. Don't get complacent. Too many people, especially in New Orleans where people play day in and day out, they're there 3 nights a week, 4 nights a week, 5 nights a week, whatever. It gets tedious. And people I see that more than not in New Orleans that people are just complacent. Like, okay, this is
Yeah,
here.
and don't get an ego either as you get better, right? Because at a certain point, you're going to be making leaps and bounds in your progress, right? Before you plateau, you know what I'm talking about? Like you'll get, in your earlier career, there's a big growth spurt there. And during that spurt, you just got to be careful that you're not getting an ego that you're better than you think you are, or taking that
Mm,
like, that sort of thing. Like you could always be better, right? I mean, be confident, but don't be like cocky and have a bad attitude because people are not going to want to work with you,
yeah,
no matter how good you are,
yeah, yeah. I
right?
had a little bit of that when I was young, and in a very popular band. So there's a couple reasons this came to my mind this week. That's a good thing too. Like Daniel said, I always play as if another bass player is watching me looking for mistakes. And
Mm.
I see that a lot, really here in New Orleans, where most people don't watch me. You know, people might look at me, but they don't sit there and watch me. They'll watch the singer, they'll watch the guitar player, watch the drummer, bass player. Most people don't. But sometimes I see people watching me. I can tell they're just watching me, and I don't. I never think of it like they're another bass player. But I always generally think that they're a musician, depending on what they look like. If they're usually, I usually think that like they must be a musician watching a bass player. What's the bass player doing? And and quite often that person will end up talking to me, saying something, like good job, or hey, I'm a bass player too, or whatever.
Or hey, I saw you urinating behind that amp over there.
Your bag under your kilt is dripping.
Yeah, caught.
You might want to get that fixed. But yeah, I'll notice that, and it does. I wouldn't say it affects how I play. I would say it affects how I'm thinking about my playing. Because generally I'm not thinking about my playing. But then if somebody's watching me, then I think about my playing, and I think about what are they seeing, what are they hearing, what are like. I don't get obsessed about it, but I'll think about it. Like, okay, like I'm doing this because to me it's all natural. It's all just me doing me. It's so normal that it's not like a thing even, but to other people it is, and I lose that perspective as all of us would anyway. Like, you don't see yourself the way other people see you.
This is true. And I think it's interesting too when people come up and start photographing the band or videotaping the band too, or if they really want to get a good shot, they come real close and they go around each player, and they
Yeah,
get a good like panoramic, So that's always fun too,
yeah,
to
that happens.
to
Er,
participate in that. So you're not just like stiff looking at them like, hey, how's it going? Give them
right.
a little high five or stick flip or something.
I pose. I'm a poser, so I'll pose sometimes when people do that.
Yeah.
Point my bass at them, or point my finger, or like
Yeah.
give the
And give
devil
them a point too
horns.
and keep playing, like whatever you got to do. But
Yeah,
it's fun interacting with the crowd that way. But like I said, I don't know how much I would honestly myself be thinking about anything like that when I'm playing. Like there's always someone watching you, but I usually don't typically think like that's someone checking me out or watching for mistakes. Like I'm more preoccupied, I think, for myself with the dynamic level we're playing at, has the sound, what's the band doing, listening to the other players, like being caught up more in that.
right. Uh,
But every gig's different, like you said, and it depends on the environment. And like I said, someone right next to you was eyeing you the whole time. But it could be too, like you said, you can go on break and the guy's like, "Oh, I'm a drummer too, man. And what do you play? I play this and blah blah blah, and really enjoying the band. And that's why he's checking you out because he's a fellow drummer. He doesn't
right,
want to come and sit in or anything, but he's just appreciative of that, and he's more interested in watching the drums than the whole band.
right.
So that's cool too.
Yeah. So, but this came to my mind anyway because of a couple reasons. For one, I'm watching American Idol, and I talk about it every year. I love watching American Idol,
Hmm.
and I just like hearing fresh, young talent. That's why I watch it. It's nice to, just it never ends. Kids grow up, and some of them can sing great in a new way, in a fresh way, and it keeps me feeling young. It makes me excited.
And dude, you've been a fan of American Idol. I mean, we talked about this back in like 2008.
Oh yeah,
You know, I mean, like like as inspiration, and look, we've had these convos going on now for 15 years, every bit of it.
yeah, and it's getting into it. It's going to be the live rounds soon. Next week, it's the top 24, top 26 actually, and then it'll be live going forward through into Memorial Day. So I was watching this past week, and the way American Idol works is they do the auditions, which are in local cities. People come in, they sing in front of the three judges, who are Katy Perry, Luke Bryan, and Lionel Richie. Right now, and that's been the judging panel for 5 years now, I think. And that's a little more of a intimate setting. You're in a studio. You're going in and you're just singing, and they want to hear if you can sing. But then you get into Hollywood Week, and now you're performing. Now you're on stage. Now you're on a big stage with a band, with lights, with cameras everywhere. Not a crowd yet, but an audience, and the audience is the other contestants, and of course the judges. So the jump from that, from going like that's like going into a rehearsal room versus now you're in a live gig.
Yeah.
That's the difference. There's a difference in the approach, in the mentality, in the psychology of it. And so watching these kids, and seeing them in the audition round, then seeing them at Hollywood Week on stage, that's one of the thoughts that came to me was some of these kids didn't do that. They didn't practice this exercise. They didn't sing as if they were on the big stage already before they got to it. And granted, they're young. A lot of them have, very little to no experience. But that doesn't mean you can't still visualize. And if you have a love for it, if you have a passion for it. So the standouts in Hollywood Week were the ones that you could tell they did. They did that exercise. They did that visualization. They already had pictured themselves on this big stage with the big lights and all that before they got there. So once they got there, they're comfortable, even though they never did it before. And you'll watch some of these performances and you're like, wow, that voice is great. They look like natural on stage. And then they talk to them and they were like, this is the first time I've ever done this. Not really, because you did it in your head. So,
Yeah, and I think you also see the younger contestants that maybe didn't do that, but have a natural ability. Their vocal prowess is a natural gift, right? And then they can then be molded to get to that level. So they get their foot in the door just due to their talent.
right.
And then they have to go to the next level through the visualization and to get them prepared to take that next step. Otherwise, like you said, they get there and they're not prepared, and it's going to show. But sometimes, like you said, I mean, that talent can take you so far. But if you have talent and you work hard, that's when you're forced to be reckoned with.
Yeah. Like they had during Hollywood Week, they had duets round where each contestant has to find somebody, pick a partner, and pick a song and do a duet. And there were these two guys, and they were doing I'm Still Standing by Elton John.
Hmm.
That's the song they chose. And both of them, come time for them to perform, had their phones out looking at lyrics. And the song starts, and they're both just standing there reading their phone lyrics on their phone. And Katy Perry's like, hold up, hold up, hold up, stop the music. What are you guys doing? And they're like, well, we're kind of having trouble remembering the words. And all the judges were like, put your phones away, just feel it, figure it out. You have to do this now. You have to perform. So they both did follow the instructions. They both screwed up the words badly. Like one of them wasn't even close to the right words. Like didn't say any of the right words, and one of them kind of said some of the right words.
Uh-huh.
And they sang the melody, and they were trying to showcase their runs and stuff to showcase their voice, which, considering the circumstance, they did fine. They did an admirable job, but still, no good. You don't know the words to the song.
Well, that's just it. Like, from having to learn songs, and at least I can attest to it from my own behalf, is that if I'm first learning a song and I'm reading the words because I don't know it yet, you sing it way differently than you do when you know the words and you have the confidence and you own it, right? Then you can focus on how you're singing it and the nuances of such, rather than trying to focus on what the actual lyrics are.
Oh yeah, it's night and day, man.
Yeah.
And that conversation comes up a lot in the Cover Band Central group on Facebook, where people talk about iPads and reading lyrics off of iPads, and it's a huge debate that goes on and on. Sometimes you need to, if you're like in my case, where we take a lot of requests, and sometimes we'll do a song we've never done before. for a
Sure,
paid
sure.
request. So then, yeah, we'll look up the words and
But
read
if
them.
it's a song you sing every night, every weekend, month after month, you should know it.
Yeah, you should know it cold. And
Hmm.
and that's just part of being a professional, being a performer. And you see these kids on Idol that do that. Obviously, those two kids didn't make it through. Actually, I think one of them did because of his voice, but I don't know how far he's going to go.
So listen, so that was your number one reason, right? So we'll
That
provide that.
was that.
So what's number two?
That was one of the reasons that made me think of this. The other one is this young lady that I work with occasionally. She's played with us 3 times now, I think, with Cornerstone during the day. 25-year-old girl. She is fantastic. She is seriously talented, great voice. And one of my first thoughts playing with her was that she's bigger than this stage.
Hmm.
She is bigger than this stage. She's an excellent performer, and singer. She connects with the crowd. She knows the deal through and through. Knows the deal. I've talked to her off stage a bunch, and she's a smart girl. She's fun, and I've never seen anybody on Bourbon Street as good as her as far as a performer is concerned. She plays as if she's on a huge stage.
Hmm.
She plays as if she's a huge star. She sings that way. And I think she is. I think she's a huge star. I don't know if those are her aspirations. I don't know her well enough to know that. I don't know what she really wants out of life, but she's young. She's 25. And she's already way better than people that are 20, 30 years older than her
Hmm.
on Bourbon Street. And to me, she epitomizes this playing for the gig that you want. She completely honors the gig that she has. She is fully present in the gig that she has, but she is playing for something much bigger than this, and you can tell it.
Hmm.
It's just glaringly obvious to everybody around her and to the audience. The way the audience responds to her, there's no doubt. And I would love to help facilitate her success if that's something that she wants to do. And again, I don't know her well enough to know that, but she's playing with us again this Saturday. And
So you need to start finding this kind of stuff out, Steve.
yeah, definitely.
But it's the energy she brings. It's the
It's
aura. You
it's the
know that
aura.
that's what it is. It's that presence that you bring that you can't describe, but it travels with you when you are of a certain mindset and capability, and you know that, and you are like a divining rod. Like you're like you're able to channel energy and then bring it to expand it when you deliver it, right? And that's what you said is bigger than the stage because you're bringing your full self fully present in that moment, channeling that otherworldly energy, you know.
Yep. I felt it the first time I saw her. The first time I saw her was at bandstand, and it was, I want to say it was around October, November last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't a night I wasn't working, and I think I went into the quarter to get paid probably, and I was in bandstand, and there was only a couple people in the room, maybe two other people in the room, like customers. And I sat there. I was drinking a beer, I think, and I was watching her, and I'm like, and I didn't know who she was. And she looked like this other girl that I've worked with before. I was like, is that? No, I don't think it is. And I'm watching her. I'm like, my first impression was like, she doesn't give a shit how many people are in the room right now. She's playing. That was my very first impression of her. Was she's playing as if she's playing to a house,
Mm-hmm.
like as she's a performer. Like she's not looking out at the crowd looking for validation, looking for any sort of response.
Well, she's
She
bringing
is in her zone. She is performing, and it doesn't matter that I'm sitting here watching or that there's two people in the room. And I was really taken by that. and I'm happy that I've gotten to know her a little bit and that I've worked with her, a few times now. She's just enormous talent, very inspiring to play with, dude. Very the passion is unmistakable and it's and palpable.
And she's probably positive and upbeat and
Very,
fun
very,
and not
very.
pound and not getting drunk and doing shots
No,
and
she
sharing her,
drinks.
but
She
not to the
drinks for sure.
but not where she's impaired was what I was going to say. Like
Right.
she won't drink to the point where she's slurring the words and can't bring it anymore.
Yeah, she doesn't get sloppy. Somebody asked which Bourbon Street venue. That's Bourbon Bandstand, which
Mm.
is where I play every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 2 o'clock to 6:15. I was just told that we might be starting at 1 o'clock now. So I
And
might not.
going until the same time
Yeah,
and end time.
yeah,
Hey man, that's bringing you closer to 30 hours now a week. That'd be good,
yeah.
you know?
Um, uh, hey, Deborah's here. I'm sorry, Deborah. I missed your hello, but she said, my nan would often say being true to your calling in life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody said, I'll be there. I don't know who that is. They said, which Bourbon Street venue? I'll be there. I don't know who that is, Facebook user, but cool. Come
Mm.
visit, come say hi. And if you're a musician, come on up on stage and play. We always welcome that. People coming up and playing and singing and that, especially during the day when it's a little more laid back
Mm.
for our gig. We like to challenge ourselves with songs that we've never played before. We pretty much do that every week.
What about the
And
night gig though? Do you have people sit on the night gig sometimes too, or is that
uh,
more of that's like a show?
yeah, it's more of a show.
Mm.
It happens, but not often. Um, Occasionally, like somebody like that girl that I'm talking about that I'm working with. She was at a rock box show one night and she came up and sang a song. Um, uh, so I played with you last time. I played drums with you last time. That's great. I just don't know what your name is because all we're seeing is Facebook user. So cool.
Right.
If you're on the in the group, you need to let StreamYard show your name. That's why it just says that. All right, so I ate up an entire hour with mostly my stuff.
No, it was all good wisdom though tonight. I mean, it was all pertinent to how to become better and how do we make each other better and what advice or experience can we share right with other people in the audience that we have like minds, and sometimes it's like when someone else is cheering you on or giving you an idea to do something, you get inspired and you start to pursue it, and then the door opens to some other opportunity or path that unfolds before you. So it's always good to take in all kinds of information that can make us better.
Yep, yeah, and keep that in mind. I would say is the advice. Playing for the gig you want. Keep that mentality in mind when you're going and playing. Just we all have a tendency to go, oh, we're playing that venue again. Oh, I can't. I don't. Nobody comes there, and it's like a bad part of town or whatever. There's 100 reasons you could get down on something or negative about it, but you want to intentionally think about, no, I'm playing here now at the place that I really desire, what I really have passion for, what I really have love for. I'm going to be there in myself now, regardless of your surroundings.
Yeah, and
So
I'm blessed to bring that gift of music to that venue and share it with the people that are there because I don't really know who might be there that I'm
never
sharing
know.
it with and what that might open up a door to,
Never know
you know?
who will be
But like
there.
you said, you're there not bringing your best, laid back, no energy. You may have missed an opportunity because of that and never even realized it.
Never realized it. So do that, people, and report back to us, and
Yeah, and where can they find us, Steve?
we'll applaud you. Oh yeah, thanks Tony for reminding me of
Of
that.
course, we always want people to know where to find us.
Coverbandcentral.com is the website. Sign up for a profile for you, your band, or both. It is free. Go check it out.
Free,
Contact me, Steve at
free.
coverbandcentral.com. Do you want to throw some money in the tip jar? PayPal.me/coverbandcentral. You're seeing a theme here, I think.
I
It's
think
all
so.
about Cover Band Central. And The YouTube channel, like I said, the link is in the description. Click on that link, subscribe to YouTube, and check out us on the Megaphone platform. All the previous podcasts are there.
Yeah. 197 hours to get caught up on.
197 hours
Better get
now.
moving.
And we're going to have a big thing for 200, so stick around for that. We'll see you next time.
Central.